is in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Meadow Park goal.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Vic Akers Wonderland podcast. It's been a while, hasn't it? We've been away on Europe. Some of us have been away on holiday for a bit longer in Europe, but we're back. We're all back, reunited once again to go over quite a lot has happened with the Arsenal women over the past few weeks. And joining me, of course, are my co-conspirators, the lovely Lottie and the magnificent Matt in the hat. Lottie, welcome back. Or should I say, Vic Gates, Lottie.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm back. I've been traveling Europe for a week, 2 days in Italy. Been over to Germany with my partner, and it was just like it was a nice week off. I've got to be honest. Although I did miss the one of my favourite games of the season away, and it's kind of annoying because I was there for the first loss and I've missed the first win.
Much needed rest, though.
Sorry, say that again.
A much needed rest and.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although I don't think being awake for 36 hours in between the two exactly counts.
Well,
I don't know that.
Somebody who sadly has stayed at home but has been able to keep up with the Arsenal nonetheless is, of course, Matt. Matt, how are things for you? Any snow? Should we say, is there any snow up north, by the way, in where you are?
There was, but no, I was able to be in work, so it wasn't too bad. But I have been saving, for those that were wondering, I am showing a prime Arsenal bottle. I have been saving this for Arsenal to finally win. I haven't tried it or anything, so this is the first time I'm actually trying it.
You're gonna drink live on the podcast.
Live on the pod. Oh,
Is it any good?
It's not that bad, actually. It's actually quite nice. And you know what? I'm glad I did, because it's strawberry and banana.
So this is to drink when we won a North London derby? Is that what the?
Well, actually, I've been saving it since Arsenal were on a bit of a winning streak. So at the moment, cheers to Renee and the team, because it's been nice. Been enjoying it.
It's been very nice. Obviously, last time we did the pod, our previous win, I think, had been, a previous result had been the draw against Manchester United. Since then, we've had 4 games and we've had 4 wins. So we'll start with the first one. Lots to get through, so we'll try and keep this quick. So first of all, of course, was Arsenal 5, Brighton 0. Myself and Lottie were there. Lottie, routine win. It's been a long time coming. Our first home win since we beat Brighton 5-0 at the last game of last season.
Yeah, long time coming, and it's really surprising because I was expecting an even game for this, purely on the basis that Brighton have been doing so well, and they've had at the time only had let 4 goals in all season. That number is now up to 9. The last time I looked, maybe a bit higher, I think.
Never 2 more on top of that. So yeah,
No, I was just thinking that. So because West Ham tried to beat them and it didn't happen.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a really good game. Really enjoyed myself. Like everyone, nearly everybody was there. So yeah, happy days.
We had a very I enjoyed it. It was a good evening in North London. We had a very nice meet up prior to a very nice hidden gem, which can probably recommend. And a great game, 5-0 win.
Can we
5
keep
different
that hidden
goal
gem private, please?
Absolutely, it's our top secret hidden gem, but we very much enjoyed it. A 5-0 win, 5 different goal scorers: Russo, Ford, Frida, Mead, and there was one other.
I've been dreaming of that for so long, since Bayern Munich the other season. There's just something about Frida and that clock end goal. It has to be a worldie or it's not going to happen.
But I think there was one goal scorer above all the others that meant, I think, the most. And I know you're a big fan, Lottie, so I'll let you talk about the mighty Lena Hurtig. Back on the score sheet, back on the goals. She's going to win us the league, isn't she? Ballon d'Or incoming?
No, she's going to win us the Champions League. Let's get that correct. I mean, like we saw it at Valerenga. She was straight out the blocks, ready to score, and it was just unlucky that the Valerenga keeper got there, and obviously Lena fell over her. But for that goal to come in when it did, it was just perfect timing. I don't know even how to describe it. It's just like I can see the replay in my head, but it's so good to see her back and up and scoring. And there's something about the rotation that Renee's got at the moment that makes me excited. We've got Stina, Lena, and Rosa, and it's like the Swedish front line. It's magnificent. I can't wait for it to click fully with the rest of the team, and then they can go and surprise the rest of the league with it.
Yeah, they are our Swedish super subs, and they seem to be doing a super job at the moment. Matt, I mean, you watch this one at home, and were we brilliant or were just Brighton rubbish?
I'm going to be honest. I think that I say that all the time. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I hope you are honest.
You're always honest.
Yeah,
do
be as brutally honest as you can, Matt. You know, don't sit on the fence.
I think what happened was Brighton was shocked in that first couple of minutes. I think the fact that you look at Lena Hardson-Mornham's first goal, well, it's the only goal of that game, and she goes and scores from outside the box. It's a fantastic goal, and just from there, Brighton just didn't know what to do, and they couldn't seem to handle. It seems really weird that whenever we do play Brighton at home, though, it seems to be a result that doesn't really concern us. I think it was the last Brighton home game that we had. Last home game, wasn't it? So it wasn't really any concern because we'd already gotten top 3, but it wasn't really a matter of we need to win this game to sort of get back to it. So it was nice.
There was no jeopardy, was there? There was no jeopardy around it.
No, there wasn't. But I think we need to acknowledge how well they've recruited over the summer compared to what they were at Meadow Park end of season till this point in the season. They're a different team.
And yet
with the quality of Michelle Adjaman joining the ranks as well, although she couldn't play that particular game.
No, but the result is the same though, Lottie. That's the thing. They've recruited well and they've got a lot of good quality in there. We spoke about obviously Premier League,
but they held Man City. They just can't seem to crack us, and that's kind of something to be smug about.
It'll be interesting to see how they do against Chelsea at the moment when that happens. I'm looking forward to that one as well. Hopefully, that'll be a good game. If I'm going to be
Did either of you watch the City game for Brighton as like a neutral talk?
I caught. I think it was 1-0. But I was very much. I think was it the same day as the West? I can't remember which game it was the same day as because I
think it was the same as West Ham.
Yeah, I think it's the same. It was the early kickoff. Then because I remember watching both back to back. But they gave as good as they got at the Joey Stadium.
Yeah, Joy Stadium. The Joy. Yeah. Lack of joy.
I think Brighton will probably be that team that finished 4th this season, if I'm honest.
That's a heck of a shout. I mean, from my perspective, I thought Brighton were just woefully naive. I think they generally thought we could go and take the game to Arsenal and we could play them off the park. We can Barcelona them and play our game all out attack and really go for them. And just the knife through rice paper attack on their defence. In the first half, it was 3-0. It could have been more. Ford hit the post with a ridiculous effort because the keeper was out of position. And in the second half, a lot has been said about our press. I was so impressed with the nature of our press, the way that we just hemmed Brighton completely, just starved them of any possession, any option. I think there was like a 5-minute spell in the second half when it looked like they might have got into it. I think they hit the bar. But other than that, just total domination. And it was great to see 5 different goal scorers. Great to see Russo again. It's a penalty at the end, but keeps the scoreboard ticking over, keeps her personal goal scoring ticking over. And that wasn't the last of Russo's goals. There's plenty more to come, plenty more to come. Because on the back of that, it's straight on the plane, straight off to Italy. And Lottie, a trip to Juventus, a trip to the town of Biella. This was, of course, your first European away trip for the women's team. How was it for you?
Considering I started the day at 2 a.m. on the Tuesday morning, England, UK time. Yeah, it was really good. I think we jumped off the coach, and all of a sudden you're walking up behind us, which was a bit weird. I know you landed in the day before, but it was it was good. And honestly, I can't thank you enough because we would have been absolutely stuck without you. If I'm honest with you, especially with the travel. But yeah, no, it was a good day out. I was really, I've now got 65 UK and European grounds under my belt, most of them being with the men. because I've been following them for a long time. But yeah, here's to more European away days. I'm happy to add more new grounds to the list.
Absolutely.
But I think my only complaint is with that is how is that ground UEFA compliant for Champions League games?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but yeah,
it's outrageous. It's outrageous.
If it rained, we would have been soaked to the bone. End of story.
Just to describe it for those that weren't actually there at the game, because obviously myself wasn't there. There was probably a load of others that weren't able to make it. Just describe what you were seeing, because all we saw was sort of like an athletics track, and that was it.
Yeah, you had the athletics track, and then the home stand was a proper like shed. It's a big, massive shed with layer, like with the roof and everything else. Whereas the away fans, the Arsenal fans, I know you've only seen like one in the Arsenal photos. There's only like one portion of the fans, but the fans actually stretched across 3 blocks. And the blocks, like, although the seats were comfortable and like all that kind of stuff, there was no cover from, if it rained, there was no cover, no nothing. And we had to slightly move up the back of the block because the way they've got the rails in to stop you falling off the actual stand itself, it's too high. They're at eye level, so we had to move up the back from where we were supposed to be sitting so we could see. But yeah, no, it was interesting walking around, because as we were walking around, Adam was sort of leading the way and had all these little kids going, "Come on, Juve, you're going to lose," and then that result comes, and it's like we walking.
I think that's one nice things about Europe, though, is that you get those sort of away days and those sort of experiences. I know Lottie's sort of going into those sort of things, and the way some of these stadiums are built, you sort of do question it a little bit. A bit similar to Bayern Munich as well. It wasn't at the Allianz this season; it was at their women's ground.
Yeah, so the campus. Yeah, it's last time I went to Juventus, it was Turin, and that was an amazing experience. The Allianz Stadium. This was obviously a different stadium. It's nice to take off a new stadium. This one was a strange one because you had a big sort of brick perimeter wall all around it, and then it's like as Lottie says, there's a ledge track in the middle, and it's very exposed. But it was very, I would say, old school, and it reminded me of when we did our trip to Ajax. I did the Ajax away game a few seasons ago, and that day it did rain. It was torrential rain, storm, wind, the lot, and we're trapped in a metal cage, and not nice conditions. But I tell you what, I would say that the worse the conditions got, the better the game became, because the game itself on the day was terrible, the 1-0 win we got, but the fact that we were against the elements and everything, it just sort of inadvertently made it a better experience, that one, and one that will stick with me. As for this one, Juventus 0, Arsenal 4 goal scorers: Frida, Stina, Mariona and Ford. A very tightly contested first off, I thought, for this one. Juve, I thought, were well in it, and then we got the goal. What did you make of the first one? Frida's slotting it past our former Arsenal goalkeeper, Peramania. I thought this was a very, very well executed pass and build-up move.
Yeah, and it reminds you of when you go back into Europe, and I'm sure you're going to the archive, you'll probably look and there are similar goals where it is a team build-up goal. It seems to be when we're in Europe, we push more of the team goals than, say, we got to do in the WSL. I don't know if that's just because some of these teams do recognise that we're playing the same players, or there's more familiarity, say, when we take on. I'm trying to think of. No, there's not. I'm trying to think of who's the next game. I can't remember at the top of my head. Villa. When we take on Villa, it'll be Noel Moritz versus Beth Mead on that right. So it's almost like I know what they're going to do. Whereas in Europe, they probably worked on it for about 3 days. So they're not going to get that familiarity in training compared to in the match day, and that team passing move, the quick pass move, that works a lot more efficiently than it would in the WSL. And it's fantastic to see that. I mean, you can probably go back to when One of Lottie's favourite goals, Frieda Marnham against Bayern Munich, which was a lovely team press and team build up before Frieda had that excellent shot and put us on the way.
It does help that, I was sort of alluding to that when we play with WSL, a lot of Villa will probably be a classic case of this. They will try and play the low block, and we struggle against the low block. In Europe, they're going to try and play out. In Juventus, certainly, it's their territory. They want to win. I think they'd already lost to Bayern Munich. I think in their group, I think they'd beaten. I think it was Vålerenga 1-0. So they're up against it, and they know this. And I always say this in the group stages: the double header, the halfway point double header is so crucial. If you get a maximum turnaround on the points at that point in the group, it puts you in a really strong position going forward. And I thought this was going to be a really tough game because I know Juventus beat PSG in the qualifiers. If you remember, that was a bit of a shock. So I thought we got a tricky game on our hands, and obviously we drew 1-1 2 seasons ago. So to go 1-0 up at half time, we had a few scares. I thought DVD made some really good saves in the first 20 minutes or so. We had some good chances. To go 1-0 up at half time was great, especially considering that we were playing a player. Juventus had a player advantage. I don't know if you saw this at all on the footage, but they had this extra defender. They weren't wearing a Juventus kit or anything, but they were stepping in and making crucial defensive interceptions and cutting off some of our passing lanes. I mean, what a defensive performance by the referee, Matt.
It's one of those things that the first time you don't catch it, but then you go online and you see other people have caught it post game. I think, right, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But it seems a bit bizarre because there was 2 instances, wasn't there? She collided with, I think it was Leah Volti, who was trying to get onto the ball, and then she also actually touched the ball during another Arsenal passenger play, which, if those who are wondering, it's meant to be a free kick, and she does give it. But a couple of seasons ago, we went to Man City, and
don't talk about the Bunny Shaw goal, not the Bunny Shaw goal where the player the referee gave a 1-2 with the Man City or something, or intercepted.
The referee just clips the referee, and the referee just says play on, and what should have been an easy Arsenal clearance and things like that. Bunny Shaw goes and scores. Luckily, Tobin Heath goes up the other end and scores. And then I have the famous, for some people, the famous 77 cut into a haircut, because that was the first goal of the new year. So it's one of those where you can laugh about it, but it's a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, it was always feel when you win a game, and obviously, spoiler alert, we won this one. The referee performance, you don't really care about it. But if it had been a close game, if it had been a 1-0 game, if it had been 1-1, we would certainly be talking about the ref. And there was a lot of weird calls. There was I think it was a shot that got tipped over that was given as a goal kick. There was, like I said, there's some various defensive interceptions and so forth. I mean, the crowd, we were all on the referee in that first half. We were absolutely furious that we're just not getting. It wasn't just that we're not getting the calls, but just things were happening which are just absolutely bizarre. And I know that the referee in the women's game, I don't want to blame the rest, because it's the situation, what do you call it, like the lack of funding, the lack of professionalism. It's the world that they operate in is just not fit for purpose. And that, whilst all the investment on the pitch is happening and improvement for the players, it's not happening with the referees. And we're sort of seeing these weird moments like this happen. I will say, and I think it results bias and how the second half and game state affects it. The second half, I didn't notice the referee at all. So whatever outrage she was doing in the first half, it disappeared in the second half. What did happen in the second half is that Arsenal got 3 more goals. The second goal of the night, first or second half, a bit later on, Stina Blackstenius off the bench, up and running for the season, Matt.
Yes, it does feel like once Stina gets one, she's on her way. And there are times this season we'll probably go back to Man City, 1-1 with the keeper. That's a last year. I keep on doing that. I keep on confusing them. Yeah. I'm sure there was a Stina had a one. No, there wasn't. She usually has a 1-on-1 chance throughout the season, and she doesn't put it away. And you're thinking, if you just put that away, that brings your confidence up, and you go right off for the season. But it's it's better now than later in the season.
Yes, sooner the better. Yeah, I like this goal caught us all by surprise. Where I was sitting, because we thought she hit the side netting. We were so surprised that because she gets a clear run down the wing, beats the defender, and to be fair, I think the keeper should do better. You know, keeper's beating the near post, and we thought she'd rolled him aside netting, and it was sort of like a half second sort of pause, and then it's like, oh, we're 2-0 up, fantastic. Stina's off the mark. Lottie, you were singing the praises of our Swedish forward line. A first goal for Stina. Must be thrilled.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a long time coming. We've seen the number of efforts she's put on and the confident knocks she's taken. the confidence she's taken, and it's for one to finally go through. It should be the start of her season, really.
Yes.
She was our top goal scorer last season, I want to say, but it's not. I'm going to be
all comps. Yes,
yes.
Yeah. Two hat tricks in the League Cup, in the Continental Cup, certainly helps towards that, and a winner in the final. The third goal, and sadly this was the last goal that me and Lottie saw because we had to get our train back, so we had to hit the ejector seat early. Mariona smashing one in after great work from Lena Hurtig down the flank. It's her run to the byline, cross into the box, the defence don't deal with it. At this point, Lottie, the Juventus team have just collapsed.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, we would if we had to catch the last trains back to Milan, but we were just standing. We were standing at the front, down at the fencing. That was like I was talking about earlier. Just watching the play. We're like, oh, hang on. I was like, hang on a minute. Let's just watch this for a second, just before we all turned around and left. And then all of a sudden, you just see this absolute rocket hit the back of the net, and it's. At the time, I couldn't see who it was. I didn't realize who it was until Adam mentioned it on the way back up to the train station. I was like, really? Nice.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was I'd set my alarm and I was about to leave myself, and I was just waiting because I think 2-0, it's the old cliche 2-0, it's a dangerous scoreline, and I don't want to leave knowing this game could still be in the balance, and we're just waiting, and then Mariona smashed it in top bins. I was like, right, I'm off, chaps. See you everyone, have a good evening. I'm out of here. That's the perfect way to sign off. One more goal, Matt. Caitlin Ford. I think it was a cross. I think it might be. Was it a cross from Hurtig in the end? Was it, or was it a cross? No, Cooney cross. Or was it a Lena Hurtig to Cooney cross? Cooney cross crosses, and Ford taps in for 4.
She's getting in the habit now of scoring and being in the right place at the right time. It's great to see her start to apply this now, as in, especially with what's going to be coming up around the corner in both Champions League and WSL games. You want, by the time it hits that last game in the Champions League, you want to be in a good place leading up to the break. So if she can carry it on, great. Fantastic, and you won't be hearing much of me complaining, shall we say, before.
I do think it's a Ford rebound season. It certainly does feel like it.
Just put it this way: the first season that I went, Caitlin Ford was top goal scorer when I was going to those matches with 9 goals. So I think I'm looking for those sort of levels where she's being a bit more consistent. But it seems to be the cobwebs are off and she's finally flying in, going in the right place in the right direction. So it's good news, and hopefully she can kick on from there.
We will be discussing the return game, the home game, which is later this week. I must say, in the night, I thought Juventus were good for the first 20-30 minutes, but the way that they collapsed was very disappointing. I was expecting.
The one thing that surprised me is they didn't play Alicia Lehmann. That was one thing that surprised me. Were you too surprised at all?
I mean, to be fair, I didn't. I mean, I didn't notice anything like that. So no, she didn't play. But to be honest, I don't know if we'll be of notice if she had. I mean, just the way there is star quality on that Juventus team. I mean, I know Roma are doing well in his Serie A, isn't it? I believe. Maybe they would have benefited having some WSL
Sorry,
talent.
did you just say Roma are doing well in Serie A?
Are they not? Are they not? Are they
won
last season?
I thought we were talking about Juve. That's why.
Juve are top of their league at the moment, unbeaten.
Right.
I think that's the problem, is that they're not being able to get the league form and go competitive. And this was one of the things Ian Wright was talking about on his podcast with Steph Horton was that they need to get their money, put their money where their mouth is, and go for it. And this is you're expecting a really tough game, like a 2-1.
Yes,
and
that's
you
what.
get
Yeah,
a
exactly.
walkover.
Yeah. See, I've got last season's head on, because I got Joe Monty ball going around in my brain, and what happened with Juventus falling behind. But yeah, I was expecting, as you say, Matt, a tight game, 2-1, or 1-0, maybe even a draw. Two of one so convincing game for Juventus to have folded so dramatically in the last 15 minutes was very surprising. And we have them. We're going to do the preview, the Legend, the pod. We've got them coming up at Emirates Stadium. A win there will pretty much, I think, barring something ridiculous, get us through. If it's like that, I would imagine it'd be a tougher game at Emirates Stadium. I would like it to be another 4-0. It'd be fantastic. But it surely can't be that easy twice in a row. That would be very strange. Speaking of easy games, our next game was, of course, Spurs away, which, as we all know, as an Arsenal fan, is always a banker. It's a definite 3-pointer, because we don't drop points away at Spurs. We certainly don't lose 1-0 to them, despite dominating the game. That would never happen at all. Matt, you were watching this on TV. I was in the stands. Were you as nervous as I was going into this one?
I came into this a little bit late, so I think I missed the first 15 minutes. But
you missed all the fun.
I did, but what I thought going into this was just make sure you capitalise on your chances this time.
Yes.
Don't do anything silly like bring your goalkeeper up at the last minute and expect Chloe Lacasse sliding at the last minute. So. And be your player of the match just for that slide tackle. It's just things like that. And it felt very much different from this time last year.
Yeah, so we should just say, last year we lost 1-0, and it was the last game for Christmas, which kind of meant we went into the break in a bit of a downer, which was annoying because we'd only just beaten them a few days earlier in the League Cup on penalties. But yeah, last season I actually thought we dominated them more in the previous game last season. But we just did not take. We didn't create anything. We didn't create any clear-cut chances, and we didn't take any of the chances we did have. So I was going in thinking, oh crikey, what are we going to expect? In 2 minutes in, Russo scores. Really well worked move. Mariona flips the ball into the box, and Russo on the volley, first time, smashes it in past Becky Spencer. And at that point, it's just sort of a blissful sort of calm, just where any of the anxiety and stress we were going into thinking, oh crikey, if Spurs get the early goal, if something goes wrong, went bad last time. And after that, Matt, it was pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
It feels very much like the desire is back, and everyone's now terrified because of it. The fact that Russo scored with 2 minutes on the clock, that's just for records. That's the second fastest WSL.
Well, this is the thing. This is my little trivia question for you, Matt. If that was the second fastest, who scored the fastest?
I would probably get it wrong and probably say it's Ellen White.
No, but you're in the right area. It's an Arsenal legend. It's an Arsenal legend, an Arsenal legendary midfielder, if I were to put it that way.
Midfielder.
Played in the WSL until very recently for Arsenal.
Oh, right. Okay, then. Vicky Lasada.
No, Jordan Nobbs. That is no Jordan Nobbs. It was against Liverpool, I believe, in a 3-3 draw. She scored after I think it's like 40 seconds, something bonkers like that. So, very by comparison, Russo was incredibly slow. Brilliant start for us, obviously. Nice early goal. We don't get many of them, as you can tell. And then I think about 20 minutes later, it's 2-0. Again, a very nicely worked goal, but Frida tucks it away. But the defending from Spurs was atrocious. They're just like mannequins.
It was really weird. This time last year, they were dug in, sat, and this is the same manager that they had last season. So you would have thought that they would have carried on with the same tactics, but no, they just, for whatever reason, I don't know if they were just expecting the same thing to happen last season, and their plan completely foiled within the first minute, the second minute, shall we say, and they just didn't know what to do. They didn't understand what was meant to happen, and it's very strange, especially when you look at some of the experience that they've got with Beth England up front, Martha Thomas as well.
Yeah.
Two very talented strikers as well. Even within throughout the team, you've got experienced internationals, and it felt very amateurish in the way that they were defending.
It was bizarre in that sense that I remember like last season, they were very tough to break down. Very tough. The way that they managed us in the midfield, the way they were defensively set up, we just did not have the intelligence to break them down. This was, I think, the word I was hearing, was like passive. They was very much standing off. They weren't engaging. I actually think, though, again, it's game stating goals and it's stating the obvious. Performance-wise, I thought from our perspective, we played pretty much the same as last season. If we'd managed to get that early goal, if we'd managed to convert the dominance we had in the last season into a goal in the first half, I'm pretty sure both games play out the same way. The fact that we weren't able to capitalise, on dominance last season, it gave Spurs confidence. I think at that point, in the second half, we panicked. I think we saw that in the way that Spurs scored their goal last season, where we overcommitted forward, we got press baited. The way they scored their goal was brilliant, worked around us on the counter-attack. And then after that, we just completely lost all composure. And we saw that with the substitutions. We saw that with the way we were playing. It was just absolute chaos. I thought this time around, it felt like we were playing with a purpose. It felt like we knew, every player knew what this meant. I mean, if it didn't already, but they were absolutely certain that they weren't going to make it happen. They weren't going to lose again. They weren't going to lose 2 seasons in a row. They were going to do it, for themselves, for the club, for the fans, to make sure that they don't make the same mistake twice. And I thought it was a really well managed in the first half. Really well managed first half. I think we only really had 2 attacks, but we made those 2 attacks count. We were efficient in the opposition penalty box, which we weren't for a lot of last season, and certainly in that game. There was only one real moment of jeopardy, and that was at 2-0. We lose the ball in the central park, a silly giveaway. They work it very quickly to Beth England. She aims for the top corner. What a save from Van Domselaar. Goalkeepers Union, take it away.
And this is one thing that I think a lot of fans are appreciating, is the fact that Daphne is a lot lighter and quicker on her feet than Manu is.
And
so, yeah, that also helps. But sometimes it doesn't help you depending on how you play as a goalkeeper. For example, I'm quite small, so I'm quite agile. I'm able to get down into the lower ends and stretch and get across. Whereas one of the other goalkeepers is a bit more bulky, so he can't really dive as much, but tries to fill the goal a little bit more. Different styles, depending on goalkeepers, different things. But for this one, Daphne just reads it really well, realises, right, I need to make a couple of steps, and then she's able to push it. And we are seeing Daphne that we didn't get to see at Aston Villa.
She was injured for Daphne was injured for a lot of last season. That's why they had that. I forget her name, but the keeper, I think the keeper's in now.
Sophia Poor, I think it is. Sophia Poor.
Yeah, but yeah, they didn't have she wasn't playing. Daphne wasn't playing. We went to Villa Park. I know that much. But yeah, certainly I don't think we saw. Right, I think what we did see at Daphne, we didn't see that at Villa. Well, was a little question for you. Do you think if Manu were in goal, do you think Manu saves that?
I think Manu probably pushes that onto the post. I don't think she pushes it round for the corner. I think she just about gets there.
I don't think she saves that. I don't think she could execute, because the way that Daphne executed the technique of that save was like I would say as close to it as a perfect goalkeeping save. She has that technique that she can execute that. I mean, and it's not a one-off, because we've seen her do it against Leicester. We've seen her do it against Everton. She can execute those brilliant diving fingertip saves. I'm not sure Manu has that in her locker. And this is why I'm thinking that we're probably seeing the transition from Manu to DVD this season, which, I've a lot of love for Manu. I think she's been a brilliant servant for the club, and I think she's been very undervalued by a lot of our fan base, and unfairly so. But I think we maybe are seeing the rise of a new goalkeeper. She's fended off Lydia Williams, she's fended off Sabrina D'Angelo and Kella McKess, but I think this is the one. And for me, a critical goal. I think if we'd gone in 2-1 down, it would have been a travesty.
1 down, don't you?
2-1 up, but 2-1 up, but they just got one before the break and getting a bit of momentum. Which reminds me, there is actually one thing I think, if there's one thing DVD could improve on, actually, it's set pieces. So in the first half, Spurs were attacking towards us, and we were defending. I don't know about you, Matt, but I thought she looked very flappy under the high ball for corners and crosses. She didn't seem confident claiming. There was a lot of missed punches.
That's just down to your judgment. Sometimes, again, it's all about your movement for those sort of things. I think what will happen is if I remember rightly, she's under 25, so she's got plenty of time to grow and develop into those sort of things that she wants to improve. I think she would have looked back on those and gone, right, okay, it wasn't great, but at least that's something I can improve on. It's what there's always, as a goalkeeper, there's always something you can improve on. You're not always going to get a 10 out of 10 performance. There's always
something to improve.
Yeah, there's always something to improve on. Even if you get a clean sheet, and you, like say a couple of years ago, Manu made a triple save, and she was probably, that was the confidence builder that she needed. It's things like that where you probably go, right, okay, well that was probably a 9 game for me, but it wasn't exactly a 10, because for a perfect game for a goalkeeper is hard to say.
I mean, we should say she did get a clean sheet, so it was a pretty good day. And in fairness, when she was called upon, made a terrific save. Second half, though, just the one goal, but I thought this was a very, very nice goal from Stina. And it's not just the goal that she scored, but the build-up play. We just brought Stina on for Russo, so keeping the attack fresh. It's nice one. I think it's passed to Mariona, and it's such a delicate pass that just cuts the defenders through, cuts the defensive line too. Stina runs clear. Of course, we're behind the goal. We can just see it unfold, and suddenly Stina is 1v1 versus the keeper. Now, we know Stina's had some 1v1 chances early in the season and hasn't taken them. Matt, were you confident that this, after her, getting a goal in Juve, were you confident that, she's going to nail this one?
I just thought, I think it was almost like all the Arsenal fans were all saying, go on, Stina, give back her, expect her to score. Obviously, in the past, she hasn't done that, especially for club and for country, shall we say. Let's just talk a quick mention about the game at Wembley, 1-on-1 with Mary Earps, and you're thinking, Stina's going to score it. She hits it wide, and it's just one of those where you just think, she's going to do it this time. And it's perfect. And I think what makes it better is the fact that it almost feels like we've got the Mead pass, where usually in the North London derby in the first couple of minutes, Meadema plays a lovely cutting ball that Beth Mead runs onto and she scores. That's the so we're sort of finding those sort of similar passes again, but with different players. I think Mariona has added an extra angle or 3 to the attack.
Quite a few angles.
And it's just more about the other WSL teams are still unsure of how to combat Mariona at the moment. Sometimes going touch tight has worked, sometimes given a space has worked, but they haven't worked it fully out. So
on the topic of the attack, so in this game, away in Juventus and at home to Brighton, Renee has gone with Russo as a 9 and Frida as a 10. Now, I've been very apprehensive about this partnership. I don't think it's worked. I think the two have not been compatible to with each other. I think they've been better partnerships. However, if we look at the last 3 games we've played, we've gone 5-0, we've gone 4-0, we've gone 3-0, and both Russo and Frida have scored more than once across all 3. Is this partnership actually now working, in your opinion? And is it worth persevering for the rest of the season?
I think that we are starting to see the benefits of it. It seems a bit odd that Alessia's been here just for over a year now, and he's only just starting to see the Marnham Russo partnership work. I think that was previously down to the fact that Victoria Plover was playing out of her skin and Frida Marnham wasn't feeling 100% confident, so it was Plover's spot to lose, but unfortunately she's out the team potentially for the season, so we don't know what's going to happen with Victoria when she comes back. But it will be interesting to see how that works. But at the meantime, it does mean that this partnership has started to work together a little bit more, and there's that better understanding of each other, of where they need to be in certain positions.
Do you think that is down to them playing more together? Do you think this is down to maybe a new manager voice coming in with Renee? We'll get on to Renee in a bit. I have a question on that, but do you think Renee coming in has managed to maybe get the two to work that Jonas failed to?
I think that's down to it, but I also just wonder, maybe something that sort of bothered me when I was playing in goal was that I was playing with two defenders that I basically had never worked together with in training. So it was like, as a unit, it doesn't really work. So sometimes if you're pitting them two against each other, they're not working with each other and they're not able to work on that partnership. But if you're putting them together on the same teams for like team games or anything like that, you're going to get those partnerships working, and it'll make them understand a little bit each other more. So whether or not that's been the case, or it's been the case of them two have been put together, gone into the video room to watch and sort of understand why it hasn't worked. Whatever they've done behind the scenes, like just whoever's behind that, just coaches, psychologists, analysts, whoever it is, just hold your hands up and say, because well done.
Yeah. Just do you? We'll go on to again. We'll preview Juve in a minute. There's a few more questions I want to ask, but just very quickly, do you think that Russo and Frieda will start again together for the Juve home game? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Renee, this is just, she's been given this block of games until the international break. There's one more to come. Juventus at home. Unbeaten so far, only 2 drop points. That was that away against Man United, where you could argue she was a bit unlucky. Arsenal were probably the better team, especially in the second half. Weren't efficient in the opposition box and got stung on a set piece. Other than that, they've been wins, and on the whole, comfortable wins. And the plan is at the moment was that she would manage this up to this block, the international break, and then a new manager could come in, say, afterwards and take the game into the winter break. Do you think that is the right course of action, or should Renee be given the job until the end of the season as interim, or should she be given it full time and give her the job altogether full time?
This is the problem, isn't it? Essentially, because we've lost our sporting director now, we don't know I think that's sort of been put on the back burner. So I just think that it might be a case of they might look at the candidates, but they might put them out and say, can you wait until the summer when we've got this person in, whoever it may be, because there's talks of it being PSG or
it's in a lot of names. There's Real Sociedad was another word.
That was it, the Real Sociedad. So there's questions over who it's going to be. The problem is that if you wait too long, the ideal candidate could be gone, and they could have gone to let's say Matt Beard leaves Liverpool at the end of the season. Liverpool might turn around and go, right, okay, we want Renee Slayers for Liverpool in the WSL. Whatever happens to Renee, whether or not she stays on, whether or not she's going to be interim till the end of the season, and then go from there. I think she can hold her head up high.
Yeah.
If she does want to manage again, she's got a perfect opportunity to say, you can look over these sort of games. There's been a mixture of positives and negatives, but this is what I can do for your club if Arsenal don't say we want you to be the new head coach.
She certainly put herself in the shop window as a manager.
Yes.
Yeah. If she doesn't get a job, if she doesn't get a job at all with Arsenal, with the new manager comes in or however it pans out, I can definitely see her coaching somewhere else in the top flight in the WSL easily. The way she's managed these games have been brilliant. For me, I think she has earned the right to remain as interim until the end of the season. And I know there might be some who might come out and just say this is Arsenal kicking the can down the road. At the same time, you don't want to rush these sort of things and don't want to just get a manager for the sake of getting a manager in and risk getting somebody in who's doing a worse job. That being said, I'll be hesitant to give her the job full time because, is she the best manager out there that Arsenal can get? Or is she a young manager Arsenal think could become a great manager out there? That's the way I look at it. Do Arsenal go for the big name now that they know, we'll come in, we'll win them WSL? or do they treat her like an Arteta project? Treating her as an Arteta project, that's a huge gamble. You're basically gambling your future, or rolling with dice on that one rather than a sure thing, like how Chelsea did with Bombasta.
I do believe though that she's actually added an extra box into that list of having some form of women's football experience. She used to be a player, wasn't she? So
yeah,
I think that means that if she's added that to the box, that means that the players are going to be able to see through their eyes. A bit similar with Bompasta. She used to be a player as well. And she already has some of her friends with her down at Chelsea. And it's just, I think with that might be an additional box, which probably means people like Nick Cushing might not be available for it. They might turn around and say, we were interested, but she's changed our mind because of this.
It's another string to her bow that others don't possess. Certainly, it's another race in her pack. Moving on back to Champions League. Bayern Munich, it's been declared that the home game will now be at Meadow Park. It's not going to be Emirates Stadium, which we know couldn't happen. A lot of discussions about should games be moved, should stadiums be moved, should other stadiums be used, should games be flipped. However, there's lots of confusion. They've decided it's going to be played at Meadow Park. So I think there was the statistics said about 7,000 tickets had been sold. 7,000 into 4,000 does not go. So at least, 3,000 fans at least are going to miss out, probably more. Tickets are being refunded. There's going to be they're going to give away free tickets for some other WSL games as a compensation, or £20 voucher. It's not gone done well as this news would. I think it's an impossible situation. I don't want to go around blaming people and pointing fingers, Matt. But it's not a good look for the club. Let's just be fair. I'm not saying it's their fault, but it's bad PR, at least for the club, that it's come to this.
It is, and it is a bit of a worry as well. So if in future that there are going to be these sort of issues, at least there should be another plan to it. It's not going to be a case of let's just go back to Meadow Park. Some people, well, whatever the conditions are, UEFA wouldn't accept Meadow Park to begin with, but maybe because of other factors, Meadow Park is the only answer.
They have said they have given it an exceptional reasons, which is bonkers, because how the Juventus ground was UEFA acceptable and Meadow Park is, I don't know. Considering that UEFA have considering Meadow Park was used for the UEFA qualifiers that we won, so I don't get that. But they've given special dispensation because of the extreme circumstances regarding the fixtures, which were just made it impossible. So they've allowed it this time around.
It's a bit strange, and you're just thinking, I'm hoping this doesn't happen, but it's a good example of should everyone be at the Emirates full time, then it does make sure that there's got to be a plan B if anything like this does happen. I don't think anyone was expecting this to happen until it has happened.
I think there's a naivety there. You should always expect the unexpected, and clearly those in managing the situation and who stitch whole, two teams, one club sort of, mantra, and saying we're all on the same boat, we're all going to play all our games at Emirates Stadium, etc. I think we are now seeing the practical, but also the impracticalities of that. So there is going to be points where two teams are going to want to play in the stadium at the same time, and there has to be a way work around that. At the moment, it is men's team takes priority, which I get. I don't agree with. Obviously, personally, I would like to see the women's game be prioritised for obvious reasons, but I sympathise that a men's game against Crystal Palace will be given high priority. But really, it shouldn't be. Really, it should be equality, and there should be a way that all these games be played. And currently, there's no process for that, and the fact that there isn't a process of that, I think, is naivety by Arsenal. I think it's now, hopefully, because this scenario has happened, they'll be better prepared for future seasons. Should we get into the Champions League next season and get through to the group stage again, and hopefully this doesn't get repeated.
Champions League next season. It could be the other competition.
Yes. We could be. So you can see with the new one, isn't it? It could be the new Swiss model. It could be the lesser competition. I think you're referring to the Europa League version.
I think it's going to be called the Europa League. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So much to discuss. I mean, I'm glad a resolution has been found, and to me, I think, given the circumstances, given the fact I don't think that they were going to be able to I don't think Arsenal would have been able to play this game at Emirates Stadium, this Bayern Munich game. I think that the idea of reversing fixtures, Crystal Palace and Arsenal, that League Cup, wasn't going to happen. I think this was the best possible resolution. I'd rather do that than play the game at Milton Keynes or have the game, forfeited as a 3-0 defeat. The game will be played. It'll be played in the ground that we know well. It's our home ground, and it's. Is it the last game? I think it's the last game of the year. I think.
Yes, it
so.
is.
So we'll sign off as we did last season. Like we did with the League Cup against Spurs, our last home game, Meadow Park. So we do that, and then think after that we come back in the new year, and it's Crystal Palace at home. So we're back there again.
Just thing on that, on Bayern as well. Only 3 of their players have played at Meadow Park. The others are not going to be used to that ground.
Yes, that might play to our advantage because obviously last time we played them, it was at Emirates Stadium. It was a 2-0 win with the freedom and scream, as we mentioned earlier. We have put it off long enough, so we'll just cover Juventus at home. Very excited for this one. It's another Champions League game that actually will be played at Emirates Stadium, and as things stand, it's the last of our European run there, depending on if we get up the group. And I said earlier, if we win, and if Bayern Munich beat Juventus in the next round of fixtures, we will go through by default, because then the worst that can happen is it will tie with Juventus, but it will have a better head-to-head record. So, Matt, any thoughts ahead of this one?
I think just where we were, I think we were all thinking that Juventus would actually pull the finger out, as I was saying a bit earlier, and actually go for it, and they just really haven't. I think they'll be up for this one a little bit more, but then you're thinking you've had Arsenal have had 5-4 and a 3-0. I think it's going to end
2-0.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be 2-0 Arsenal.
2-0 Arsenal, and then
1-0
1-0 against Villa after the international break, and then a nil, and then and rest of from
out. Now you've got 0-0 against Villangro, and then you've got
a 1-0 defeat at Liverpool. It's all going to fall apart then. Are you expecting anything different to Spurs, or Renee's been keeping the same team, the team relatively the same, not much rotation. Jonas was rotating quite a lot in his last few days by comparison.
I will be interested because Manu did play. Did she play in the? I think she did play against Juventus.
No, she played against Brighton. She had the Brighton game, and then
that was it.
This is what happens game.
I know Manu had come in, but I think it's one of these games where it'll be everyone stays the same. There's not going to be. It's not down to rotation or anything like that. It's just we need to get those 3 points on the board. That's one step more towards qualification.
I would be hesitant to change anything, and I think what plays into Renee's hand is that the last game we played, the Spurs game, was on the Saturday. This is on the Thursday, so we've got a longer rest period, and we don't have any games this weekend. So I think this weekend's a League Cup group stage.
Yeah, and Chelsea are playing Man United.
So I've always found it weird when they schedule League Cup games to be played at the weekend. For me, that's a midweek. That's a midweek thing. It should be staying in the midweek, but that's just me.
The most bizarre one was the international break, and they could use all the men's stadiums, but they turned around and go, no, it's going to be League Cup, and that's it.
Very, very strange. I'm not expecting much difference. Maybe the keeper gets swapped, but I think Daphne's made the slot number one. She's got the shirt now. She's the number one keeper. Unless there's a tactical reason, but given it's the same, given we played Juventus already, I can't see Renee going for something tactically different. Clearly, what we did last time worked, and we won 4-0. So yeah, I'm expecting Russo 9-3-10. Probably Kim Little and Velty in the midfield. Catley and Williamson, that seems to be working. We've got that left footer now on the left centre back. I do feel sorry for Dina. I thought she started the season really well, and to see that she sort of slipped out the team to cater for this new centre back partnership is a bit unfair, but it's again working. Fox, who seems to be a run forever.
New Miss Consistency, isn't she?
Yeah. The only changes I can imagine, and I think we're in a position where we can do it, is going to be the wingers. It's because I think we had also did we start? I think we started Mead. I think in Juventus we've been playing around with it a bit. So yeah, I could see us rotating around the likes of Mead and Ford and Mariona and maybe trying something different there. I can't see Lena Hurtig starting, but I could certainly see her coming off the bench for this one.
I think that's one thing we have more than Juventus, and that is options off the bench.
Who would your wingers be?
For the chaos, I think I'm going to throw Rosa Kafaji because I think that she would really cause a lot of chaos for Juventus. On that right, yeah, you want to give Beth Mead a break. It's hard.
Well, Mead didn't start the derby, so you can
That
flip
is
it the
true.
other way.
Unless you put Kafaji on the right, and then that's a case of who do you put on the left? Let's say Hurtig and Kafaji. Just for
Kafaji. I think Renee will go with Champions League experience, and I think she'll probably go Marion and Ford. And I think that's the way she'll play. And I think there's every possibility if we play like we did against Juventus, and Juventus are as average as they ended up being in that game. We can win that one, and if we can win it before half time, as we did against Spurs, bring the subs on. Bring the likes of Kyra Cooney-Cross on for Kim Little for the next second half to keep the legs fresh and give Kyra legs and give Kyra time on the pitch and give Kim a chance to rest her legs. Rotate the wingers, give minutes to Hurtig, give minutes to Stina. Maybe give Moll a cooler game. Anyone?
I feel so sorry for her.
I do
just feels like
either
she's going in January or she's going online. It just feels the way it's going to go unless a manager comes in.
I'll wrap up this one with just a quick score prediction from you, Matt. We should just say we do apologise, but I think we have lost Lottie due to technical difficulties, I'm afraid. So it'll just be from yourself, Matt, a score prediction for this one.
Yeah, 2-0 to Arsenal.
2-0. Okay. I think we're on a roll. My head says go for the 1-0. It's safe. Just go for because it was 1-0 last time. When Meadow got the volley and it was 1-0. We scraped through. But you just this team is on a roll and they've got confidence. The players have said they've got confidence. They've got confidence with Renee. They're playing with more freedom. You can say it's new manager bounce. I think 3-0. I think it could be a good night in North London, and then we can all head off home and plan for the international break, which is going to be a lot of fun. But that's it. That's the end of the show. Sadly, we started a podcast shorter than when we started. Hopefully, we will have Lottie back on the pod soon. Hopefully, she can get our internet back working relatively quickly. Just leaves me to say, Matt, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at MattLR28 on Twitter, or you can also find me on Blue Sky.
Yes, we are now. Well, I'm on Blue Sky. Matt's on Blue Sky, and the pod is not on Blue Sky yet. We don't have a pod account there just yet. I don't think Lottie's on there just yet, but hopefully we can convince her. I am on Blue Sky at Adam-Salter4. And as I said before, I'm on Threads and Twitter and Instagram at Adam_Salter4. But that's it. That's the end of the pods. 3 great games, 1 more to go, and we'll see if Renee is still in charge of the show after the international break. Come on, you Gunners.